to Eagles and Cowboys, a Saturday edition, a Christmas Eve edition. Yeah, that's what we'll be talking about for the next 2 hours here on Birds 365. John McMullen Jody McDonald, a.k.a. your Mac and Mac guys here on Birds 365. J-Mac, Merry Xmas, Happy Holidays.
Happy Festivus if you celebrate.
Is today
Festivus?
Festivus? Yeah. It's the day before the day before?
Day before the day before. So time to get the poll out and air some grievances. I hope you didn't make the trip. By the way,
with a 13
not with the
team,
Eagles,
right?
but for Jody Mack specifically, I'm hoping you didn't make the trip up the turnpike last night.
No, and I will absolutely admit and reveal that my wife made that call. She just shook her head and said, "This is foolish. Why are you going? You're going to sit in the rain up and down the turnpike. What are you, crazy? Blah, blah, blah." It wasn't as bad a storm as it was supposed to be, but it was just continuous all night long, and it got colder. This is some weird weather we're going through, John. It's supposed to dip down and get cold, freezing.
Then it got hot. Then it's going to get really cold. It's crazy. But obviously the product you would have seen would not have made it worth the drive either. So I'm glad you stayed in Mansion McDonald and
yes, we did.
The trip up the turnpike.
My daughter did come over, and she came back from Philly, and she watched the game with me last night in the man cave. And it was just a bad one. I've been trying to tell Jet fans. It's funny because I've got a show on FAN tonight. I haven't done a show on the Fan in 2 months, but sure enough, I'm on tonight. I tried to talk him off Zach Wilson the day they picked him in the NFL draft. The kid's just not an NFL player. He doesn't have, and Eagle fans should and could relate to this. Jalen Hurts has the mindset and the toughness to be a star quarterback in the National Football League. Zach Wilson does not. So when you start to take Jalen Hurts for granted, and that might be the case heading into this game against the Cowboys with the backup quarterback getting the official nod tomorrow. Don't. That there is more to being a star quarterback in the NFL than just the ability with a howitzer to throw it off your arm. Because I remember you telling me you got a closer
up platform, baby. Platform.
Off platform, on the run. He's got no. Here were your words. That Zach Wilson's got some arm talent.
Well, he does.
You need more than arm talent to be a winning quarterback in the net. It isn't all about arm talent.
I agree.
And he's proven that.
It's about that at every position. I say it all the time with TJ Edwards. I mean, he's not in the Pro Bowl because of his pedigree. And a quarterback, it's even worse because guys get pushed up the board. He does have tremendous arm talent, but it takes so much more to play the position. I love how everybody's running away, though, from Zach Wilson. Not you specifically.
That's not the case.
No, I'm not talking about you, but I'm talking about draft people and saying, Joe Douglas, there's no way I mean, we could do the research. It's on the internet. There are people who talked up Zach Wilson tremendously, and obviously it hasn't worked out. I joked, evidently Robert Saleh wrote, we haven't seen the last of him. In his press conference.
I saw his press conference.
And I joked it's never good policy to threaten your own fan base. But I will say this too, because I say the same thing about Justin Fields, who's got enormous talent in Chicago. Boy, I think it's really bad decision. If you're going to draft a young quarterback, and I don't care what the name is, you got to have a coaching staff in place to maximize the efficiency of a young quarterback. And that means offensive guys. And I'm the first to say defensive guys get, they're behind the 8 ball to begin with because most teams just want an offensive guy.
Right.
And there's no guarantee that Nathaniel Hackett's a perfect example in Denver, just a disaster. There's no guarantee it's going to be a success, and that's with a veteran quarterback. But if you're drafting a young quarterback, you can't have a head coach that isn't a good offensive mind. You can't go that direction. Same thing with Matt Eberflus in Chicago. Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, but
doesn't make any sense.
Here's my evaluation of the Jets. It's all about the quarterback. the kid can't play. He's not good enough. He doesn't have the talent. He doesn't have the heart. It's not about the coaching staff. It's not about offense or defense and where your overall philosophy
Well,
is
they
and
have
where
a
you
good
put your
defense.
emphasis. It's about him. Sometimes it's that simple. We all want to go one more step and dig a little deeper and do a deeper dive. No, the kid just can't play. Plain and simple. Don't look at Robert Saleh and say, well, you have to have an offensive mind and get no. The kid can't play. Plain and simple. It's easy for me, but that's just me. We all have our way to
Well,
analyze.
we turn, because we are Birds 365, we turn it back to Jalen Hurts. Look, Jalen deserves all the credit in the world for his development. But Nick Sirianni has helped dramatically, and Shane Steichen has helped dramatically, and Brian Johnson have helped dramatically. And by the way, Jalen Hurts will be the first one to tell you that. Yeah, I mean, I can't sit and look at Zach Wilson and say he doesn't have the arm talent to play in the NFL. He doesn't have a bunch of the other stuff. He doesn't have the work ethic, evidently. He doesn't have the desire, evidently, and all of that is part of it. And I'm not there every day, but that's just what I hear, and that's how it comes across. Oh, I think coaching's got a lot to, and I talk about it all the time with Andy Reid, and I go all the way back to '99 and Donovan McNabb and that draft, and I say, man, what if Tim Couch was with Andy Reid, and Donovan McNabb had to go to Cleveland? What if Achilles Smith got with Andy Reid? And I know for a fact, because Joe Banner said the Eagles loved Achilles Smith, and they think he would have been great under Andy Reid. And what if it was Achilles in Philadelphia with Andy Reid, and Donovan had it? Where the hell did he get drafted? I don't even remember.
Achilles Smith?
Yeah,
Next
Cincinnati.
pick.
No, but what team did he go to? I
Who,
forget.
Achilles was Cincinnati.
Cincinnati, yeah.
Yeah, Bengals.
If Donovan had to go to Cincinnati and Achilles Smith went here, how would that? I think things change dramatically. I think coaching, especially with young quarterbacks who have some flaws, I think it's really, really big. I think I say it all the time, Jody. Player development is real. Player development is real. I don't like Justin Fields' chances right now. Now, he's a better example because he's got enormous talent. I don't like his chances in the situation he's in.
And I think coaching. They made a conscious decision, to not compete this year. They traded their three best defensive players. They said we're not going to win this year. So he's had to overcome that all year. That was a conscious decision the organization made, not their coaching staff. And yeah, Mike White goes in and moves the football and looks good. So it's not the Jets coaching staff either. It's the kid. He can't play. Plain and simple. Your analysis of overall football can be dead on. I'm just telling you, it's not applicable to the New York Jets. It's not because their offensive philosophy, their offensive coaching, they can't get Zach Wilson to where he needs to be. No, Zach Wilson can't get Zach Wilson where he needs to be. But enough about the Jets. The decision came down yesterday. Gardner Minshew is getting the start. I ask you, why the timing? They played it a specific way. Do you really believe that Jalen got worse, or that they were hiding information to a point and decide now is the time to let everyone know that Gardner's going to get the start? Did Gardner, in their mind, need 2 full days of knowing himself he's going to be the starter? Why did the timing work out that yesterday was the day Sirianni said?
Yeah, I don't know. I expected him to take it right up to game time. I expected the competitive advantage nonsense. No, everybody knew Jalen wasn't going to play. Same thing. We were talking about Dallas Goedert, and I never got to mention it on the show. The Eagles did have more time, and for whatever reason, they decided to activate him at the start of the week. It is a little bit of a shift, a little bit away from competitive advantage. Maybe I don't know. That's been the way they've done things. I said, from talking to some people down there this week, I originally thought, if this were a big game, if this were, winning you're in, if this were a playoff game, I think Jalen Hurts would have, pushed through and tried to play the game. Now, after talking to some people down there, I don't think that's the case. I don't think he would have played even in a playoff game. I just don't think he's ready. Um, so maybe that factored into it. It's not as close as people might have assumed. But I don't. They're so entrenched in a competitive advantage. I don't know why they just stopped. Because they did it with Goddard as well. They
Yeah,
didn't
no,
wait till today to put him on the 53. Um, yeah, it's a head scratcher.
bit of a surprise, and you're right. It's kind of flies in the face of the way the Eagles have been doing business since Sirianni took over as coach last year. Don't give the other team any information until the last possible moment, but they made a couple conscious decisions. And your point about he just isn't ready to go, Jody. My sources tell me it's one really close. They were hoping against hope here. How the hell did he finish the game against Chicago? We're now a couple
Yeah,
days later. Not only did he finish the game, he finished the game strong and made good passes in that
he
fourth
played
quarter
better
after he got hurt.
after. Arguably, as a passer, at least he played better after than before. Yeah,
Just
I mean
adrenaline.
that's just adrenaline. You're in the game. It hasn't, started to show the effects. Yeah, I mean it happens all the time. And then after the game, you sit down and you're not in it, and it starts to, whether it's a swelling issue or it starts to um, rest and heat, and it starts to lock up, or 100 different things. It happens all the time, though. I mean, guys can get through a game, and then after the game, they're like, "Oh, all right, well, there's an issue here." I mean, adrenaline has a lot to do with that. So, I kind of asked, you know, why was Jalen finishing the game? And no one's aware of the seriousness of the injury. Jalen's probably not aware. I know Jordan said, when he stayed down for a little bit, he said, "Get me the F up." He's like, "Are you okay?" And he's like, "Get me the F up." Um, he's a tough guy, and Nick pointed that out. But if you're injured, you're injured the next week, and he can be as tough. No one's questioning his toughness. I mean, he's just not ready to go.
No one should be questioning his toughness, and we're questioning kind of the way the Eagles handle that. And this is not how dare they type questioning. This is just really type questioning. It just kind of surprises me because the Eagles have been so just tied into don't give up any information until the last possible moment. But they made a couple of decisions ahead of time here. Goddard reactivated and Hurts not starting. Goddard reactivated. How much is he part of the offense? We know he's how good he is. If he wasn't on the injured reserve list, he'd probably be just another Eagle on the Pro Bowl, as the kind of season he was having before he got hurt. But there's timing. It's Gardner Minshew. Do we just believe that after being off for a month himself, Gardner being off all season, they're going to be able to go out and they had a good game last year against the Jets? That was his favorite target, throwing the ball for Minshew was Goddard. What do you expect out of Goddard Saturday night against the Jets?
Yeah, I mean, I expect him to be a big part of the game plan because of how Gardner plays. I mean, part of it was, part of it's not just Dallas being a great player. That's what Gardner does well. He's very quick to process. He's very quick to get the football out of his hands, which is good this week against a good pass rush with Dallas. That's a positive. He likes to throw the ball inside the numbers. Some people like to throw it outside the numbers. Jalen's been great at the deep ball, the go routes. I don't think you're going to see a lot of that. That's not the strength of Gardner Minshew. It's in breaking routes. Big bodies are good. I think this is a big A.J. Brown week as well. Maybe lesser of a Devonta Smith week. Um, those outside the numbers throws. That's what he does well. And that's why Dallas had such a big game last year. That was, remember, you had the Zach Ertz trade. So you still had Zach Ertz at the beginning of the year. So you had that sort of back and forth with the tight end still. That was Dallas Goedert's career high at the time for receiving. And that's because of how Gardner plays. And I think he had 6 for 105 and 2 touchdowns, I think were the numbers. That was his best game ever at that point. Now he's done a lot since then, but at the time, so it was sort of his breaking out party post Zach Ertz, and part of it was just how Gardner Minshew plays. And I think Gardner ended up 20 of 25 because and early in the game, he was great. He had a bunch of straight completions, him and Dallas, and the Jets couldn't do anything with him. And then they kind of ran away with the game. So much better opponent this time. And we'll see how it shakes out. But that's what Gardner Minshew does well. So I expect Dallas Goedert and A.J. Brown to be big parts of the game plan.
One quick question for you, and it's really a two-parter, and Eddie Kratz is going to join us here in a second, so I'll just ask you one of the 2 parts. You mentioned A.J. Brown could be a big player because it's between the numbers. What if Dallas goes man-to-man and they put Diggs on A.J. Brown wherever he goes? Then
the Eagles don't care. The Eagles think A.J. Brown can beat anybody. And I was talking to actually Ian Book.
But is that a smart way to handle it?
Yeah, I think
Eagles,
so.
Here's one of my favorite John McMullen words. Eagles hubris aside, is that smart to do it? Just say, well, we don't care. A.J. Brown's that good. We're going to do whatever the hell we want.
A lot of it depends on, you got to get a feel. I hate to bring up officials. I rarely do. But you got to have a feel, because I go back to that Jefferson game with Darius Slay. And Slay did a phenomenal job on him, but they let him play that day. I mean, there was a lot of hands on, and if they're not allowing that, I think that's up to Shane and Nick to adjust. But yeah, I like that. Just because of the NFL and the way they play the game, typically, receivers have the advantage, and AJ's got the advantage on everybody, and they're not gonna worry about Trayvon Diggs. But when we talk to John Machota, they're having issues at that other corner spot, and if they travel Diggs with Brown, you'd be wise to take advantage of that other corner, no matter who he's on. But I think it would be kind of silly for them to travel Diggs anyway because of the issues they're having on the other side. So you got to see what the Cowboys kind of do. Shane's been very good at that. I know it wasn't the best week to point it out because I didn't love the game plan against Chicago, but Shane's been very good at seeing what's going on and sort of adjusting to what the defense is doing. So I think he'll be very cognizant of that.
For the year, yes. Shane Steichen's been very good, as you just described him. Last week, not so much. So we'll see how that plays. And it will be in part. And I know, and Steichen, you keep telling us, doesn't give you anything on the record, give you some good stuff off the record. So I'll take you at your word that that's the way he handles his business, which is good. This will be a nice little test. I never met an offense coordinator, heard a quote from an offensive coordinator who didn't think he dictated terms, that they're going to do what they're going to do and the defense is going to react to us. No offensive coordinator ever admitted that, well, we'll wait to see what they do and then we'll adjust accordingly. No. They all want to dictate terms. They want to be the lead dog and they want to tell the defense, here's what you better do because we're going to do this. And I'm sure Shane Steichen is just like the other 31 offensive coordinators.
I think the impressive part about Shane, he's a comfortable 50-50. Like he thinks we can he thinks we can dictate, but if they're giving him something, that's how he's going to pound the what out of it. If he thinks they're giving him something, he's going to adjust and really, really take advantage of it.
And we'll see how it shakes out with Gardner Minshew at the helm. He's John McMullen. I'm Jody McDonald, Mac and Mac Birds 365. It's a football Friday, and we got him because Nick Sirianni isn't talking today. So it's good to get Ed Kratz from Sports Illustrated back with us here on a football Friday on Birds 365.